It was a day like any other. Charles Weigle had just returned from an evangelistic meeting, weary but fulfilled, eager to see his wife. As he stepped through the front door, he immediately sensed something was off. The house was silent. Too silent. His heart pounded as he noticed a single sheet of paper lying on the table. His name was written on it in familiar handwriting. With trembling hands, he picked it up and began to read. Charlie, I've been a fool. I've done without a lot of things, but from here on out, I'm getting all I can out of what the world owes me. I know you will continue to be a fool for Jesus, but for me, it's goodbye. The words cut deeper than any knife. His breath caught in his throat. He read it again and again, but no matter how many times his eyes scanned the paper, the meaning didn't change. She was gone. Everything blurred. His legs felt weak. He sank into a chair, the note still clenched in his fingers. Lord, how could this happen? He whispered, his voice barely audible. That night, sleep never came. He paced the house, staring at the empty spaces where she had once stood, where they had once laughed. Every memory replayed like a cruel tormentor. The woman he had loved, the one he had built a life with, had chosen the world over him, over their calling. Days turned into weeks. The weight of sorrow became unbearable. He stopped traveling, stopped preaching, stopped writing. The joy that once filled his soul had vanished, replaced by an aching void. One evening, he sat alone on the porch of his small cottage, staring at the distant horizon as the sun dipped below the trees. The world moved on, indifferent to his pain. His hands gripped the arms of his chair as the thoughts swirled relentlessly in his mind. Your ministry is finished, a voice whispered. You're a failure. No one cares. He squeezed his eyes shut. The voice was right. What was left for him now? He had given his life to the gospel, and in return, he had lost the one person who mattered most. His heart pounded as another thought crept in, one that chilled him to the core. End it. It would be easier. Tears streamed down his face as he buried his head in his hands. The battle within him raged. The temptation to give up loomed over him like a dark shadow. But then, through the silence, another voice, softer, yet unmistakably powerful. Charlie, I haven't forgotten you. He froze. I care for you. A sob escaped his lips. He fell to his knees right there on the porch, shaking under the weight of it all. Oh Lord, forgive me, he cried. I've been so blind. Help me to trust you again. Even if everything else is gone, I still have you. In that moment, peace flooded his soul. The darkness that had suffocated him for so long began to lift. His burden, though still heavy, was no longer unbearable. That night, Charles sat at his piano, his fingers resting on the keys. Words began to form in his heart, not words of bitterness or despair, but of gratitude, of love. Slowly he sang. I would love to tell you what I think of Jesus, since I found in him a friend so strong and true. I would tell you how he changed my life completely. He did something that no other friend could do. Tears welled in his eyes, but this time they weren't tears of sorrow. They were tears of hope. He continued, his voice growing stronger. No one ever cared for me like Jesus. There's no other friend so kind as he. No one else could take the sin and darkness from me. Oh, how much he cared for me. The song flowed effortlessly, as if God himself were writing it through him. And perhaps he was. Charles Weigle's story didn't end in despair. Though he had been abandoned by the one he loved, he discovered a love far greater, one that would never fail him. His ministry was far from over. In fact, through his pain, God gave him a song that would touch millions of hearts. And today his words still echo through the ages, reminding us all, no one will ever care for us like Jesus. Welcome to Voices from the Past, where we uncover the powerful stories of men and women of faith whose lives continue to speak to us today. In this episode, we dive into the life of Charles Weigle, a man who faced deep personal heartbreak but emerged with one of the most beloved gospel hymns of all time. Charles Weigle was born in 1871 in Lafayette, Indiana, into a devout Christian family. From an early age, he felt the call to ministry and dedicated his life to preaching the gospel. He became a well-known evangelist, traveling across America, leading revival meetings, and calling people to faith in Christ. But Weigle wasn't just a preacher, he was also a gifted songwriter. His music flowed from a heart that deeply knew God's grace, and his songs became a source of encouragement for many believers. Yet despite his success in ministry, Weigle would soon face a trial that would shake him to his core. Imagine dedicating your life to serving God, only to have the person closest to you walk away. That's exactly what happened to Charles Weigle. After years of ministry together, his wife told him she no longer wanted to be an evangelist's wife. She longed for a different life, one without the sacrifices that ministry required. And then, she left him. Her departure devastated Weigle. He fell into a deep depression, questioning everything. How could God allow this? How could he continue preaching about God's love when he felt so alone? In his darkest moments, he even contemplated taking his own life. But God wasn't finished with Charles Weigle. One day, as he sat at his piano, reflecting on his pain, the words and melody of a new song began to pour from his heart. No one ever cared for me like Jesus. There's no other friend so kind as he. This song was more than just lyrics, it was his testimony. Weigle had lost everything, but in that loss, he discovered the unfailing love of Christ. The one who would never leave him. The one who cared for him in a way no human ever could. Weigle didn't let his heartbreak define him. He pressed on, continuing to preach and inspire others with his story. Later in life, he joined Tennessee Temple University, where he mentored young ministers and musicians, leaving a lasting impact on future generations. His story reminds us that, even in our darkest moments, God is near. When people fail us, when life crumbles around us, when we feel completely alone, Jesus is there. His love never wavers, and his faithfulness never fails. If you're feeling abandoned, if you're struggling to understand why life has turned out the way it has, remember this: no one will ever care for you like Jesus. Thanks for joining us on Voices from the Past. If this story encouraged you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And remember, God writes the most beautiful songs out of our brokenness.